from
you have to.
Yeah, from pitch to bottle. And, the commercial meads making full meads, the 11 to 14%ers, they're cranking them through in less than 90 days from pitch to bottle because they've got advanced, filtration techniques and oxygenation and, reverse osmosis water and ozone and, all that stuff, bright tanks, all the fun stuff that they've got at a commercial level that they can do that. And if they're smart, they do it that way and it makes it out. And then there's some who are like Ken that put stuff down to age on purpose, because, come on. People will pretty much pay anything Ken asks for a bottle of Ken stuff. Ken says it's going to be $5,000 for the next batch of Heart of Darkness. People will still be camped out on the parking lot, waiting for the doors to open the next day, But the session meads are huge. We're seeing a lot of Weird-A-Mills now. Peanut butter jelly meads are huge.
I don't like those.
I've tried 3 or 4 of them, and they're interesting, but they're not really my thing.
Well, I've only had a few as well, and the ones I've had, I was like,
Yeah. I haven't had. I think I've got a bottle of peanut butter jelly crime, which is Superstitions, in my stash. And I love the label. It's got like a knife through a peanut butter jelly sandwich and blood leaking out,
No, it must be jelly.
Yeah, I know, but it looks like blood. And I've got a bottle of crafted artisan, which is I drank the blueberry one tonight. They sent me one of their it's peanut butter and banana, so it's an Elvis mead.
Oh,
I can't wait to try it. Yeah, I can't wait to try it. It should be interesting. Man. Yeah, peanut butter and banana.
That I would actually try.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that one. But yeah, PB&J meads are the thing. There's a lot of currant meads happening, black and red. And some of them are straight up, and some of them are mixed with other sweeter fruits. And many of them are oaked. So that's a big deal. But, Chris has got another question. Chris Hodge. In background, Chris is getting ready to open his meadery. And he's working on his flagship mead, which is going to be a traditional session. And he has a specific thing he has floating around in his head. He wants a yeast strain that produces something special when interacting with honey. Not a strain that just turns it into a wine or beer-like drink. The thing that drew him to experimenting with 1-month meads was that it claims that the flavor it makes with 1388 isn't quite Belgian flavored, which is okay anyway because he loves fruity banana-y flavors and esters. He's had to modify the system already because he thinks it stalls consistently with its nutrient recommendations. So he's just wondering if you have any thoughts around that.
1388?
Well, 1388 or, what kind of a yeast strain that would give something truly special?
Well, a lot of those... I can't, off the top of my head, I don't remember which yeast that is.
1388 is a Belgian. That's Y yeast Belgian.
Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of those are temperature sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't, a lot of those Belgian yeast you want to pitch at a certain temperature and you want to let it pre-rise to whatever it will get to, and then you want to apply heat and boost that temperature. So if you research a particular, maybe what you want to do is research a particular yeast and make sure you're treating that yeast correctly. Because I don't think I've worked with that one in particular, but I worked with a number of Saison yeasts, and there's one, the DuPont strain, for example, is very sensitive. It will, if you don't treat it right, it stalls out. But if you treat it right, it just gives you magnificent flavors. White pepper and citrus, and so I already said it before. I said it earlier in our talk tonight. Is I have been experimenting with Saison yeasts and trying to work with those at high temp and to see what they do. And it's had some. It's worked out well so far.
Interesting.
But I look at it. See if you can, if you like 1388 or a particular Belgian beer, figure out which yeast they're using, and then figure out how are they actually treating that yeast in production. Because like I say, they'll pitch at a certain temp, they'll let it free rise, then they'll apply heat, and they'll let it sit at the temperature, and then they'll cold crash it maybe. It varies from brewery to brewery and yeast to yeast, but they are sensitive. But if you treat them right, they give you great flavors. And I think that's a really big unexplored territory. There is using those Belgian yeasts with mead, and I think there's some great potential there. But that's just me talking out my. I don't know. I'm just.
Well, no,
I've heard people say no, you can't use Belgian yeast with honey. It's like, well, it's worked out so far for me.
That's crazy. All I did was Belgian yeast for the first 2 years of making mead, and they were good. In fact, I think AJ was the one. She tried one of my first meads ever. I sent her a little bottle.
Yeah, that was the first time I'd ever tasted orange blossom, and I immediately fell in love with it.
No, and that was a Belgian. That was a 1388.
Yeah, that was the bomb.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, Chris says, boost the temp. Now I'm all sorts of confused. We're explaining to him that that what you're doing is playing with, the high temperature ferments with some of these beer yeast to get a different flavor profile. So
right, they have a wider fermentation range, and you can push some of them up into like 85 degrees, and they will give you different flavors at different temperatures.
Yeah, 1388 goes all the way up to 80 degrees just in the range,
Right.
So
the high temp yeast.
Yeah.
That leads me to another question. Actually, I know I'm hogging some questions, but when you're doing experimentation, like a lot of people, a gallon can be daunting because it's a lot of cost to do experimentation that you don't know what's going to happen. Do you think like using a quart size or a half gallon size can still be effective?
Oh, to me that's too small to work with. So I like to, my minimum batch size is 3 gallons because that's just, with my equipment, that's just easy to work with. Whereas a gallon, like if it turns out well, I only made a gallon, I'm going to be pissed off. Whereas if I got 3 gallons, I'm going to be happy with that. And if it doesn't turn out super, like 3 gallons, well, it's it's not that big of a deal. But it's just too much. The gear to work with a gallon size is just not. It's hard to do, I think. So going smaller than that, I wouldn't recommend it.
Okay.
Because I'm using carboys or buckets and racking and trying to blanket with CO2 when I'm racking so I don't get any oxygenation. And I'm not sure how you would do that on a smaller scale than a gallon. Or you can do it on a gallon scale, but to me it works better. Like 3 gallon carboys, that's a lot easier than say gallon jugs.
Okay.
That is an interesting thought because I'm experimenting doing a whole series of tea meads this winter, and I've got all these funky teas that I've picked up here and there. I'm a bit of a tea whore, and so I've got 5 ounces of this and 4 ounces of that, and I'm going to mess about with it. Most of it doesn't actually have any tea in it. It's a mix of various dried fruits and herbs and whatnot, and so I was going to do like 1.5 to 2 gallon batches. Because I got to thinking, how would I aerate and, stuff for 1 gallon? It starts to get complicated. But I'm doing it in 2 gallon buckets from Lowe's, because they've got those nice 2 gallon food grade pails for $4. It's like, all right, I'll go buy 10 of them,
Yeah, that's kind of where I was coming from as far as if you want to do an experiment on 10 different teas. If you're doing 3 gallon batches, now you have 30 gallons of mead. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, it depends what you're doing. If you want to if you're doing an infusion of some sort with spices, then you could make a big batch of your base mead and then rack that onto smaller containers and infuse those smaller containers. I don't know. It really depends.
Mm-hmm. But no, I do tend to agree that the small batches are very hard to manage. Kind of like trying to keep a hot tub versus a pool with the right balance of chemicals. It's just the smaller volume means that any little mistake will be magnified that much more, I guess. I think, anyway.
Well, and there's the whole concept of if you make a 5-gallon batch of something and you really screw it up. Honey ain't cheap, man.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
Like I always say, that's why I have a distiller.
Yeah.
Fuel, obviously.
One of my girlfriends was saying that her husband got her a little mini pot distiller. It's its cutest little thing. It's like the size of a basketball. I was like, that's so cool. I want one.
Wow.
Yeah.
We should all have one.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, I got to have, and here's the thought. Okay, and this is just a hop, skip, and a jump from you, my friend. All right, White Winter Winery in...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So White Winter is distilling now.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, yes. He's got this beautiful pot still that he got from Germany, I think he said. And it sits in the back of the meadery. Ask him, he'll show you. He's so proud of it. And when I was there, John dragged me back there, and I had to try all of his different... He's got like 5 different distilled meads now.
Ooh.
And they're
I happen to have
they're for sale.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah.
I've had a well, never mind. I shouldn't. I've had a distilled pine mint that was really good.
Yeah.
Orange blossom honey. It was, and it retained a lot of residual sweetness. It's crazy. I don't know where it's obviously coming from the honey, but it came through and it was beautiful.
Well, I'm of the opinion that if you're going to distill a mead, then you should start with a super sweet mead. Like almost cloying. Like as sweet as you can get it and not have it be screwed up. That's just me because I've had several different distilled meads and many of them were like they obviously gone all the way dry at some point. And so it felt to me like it just lacked body on the distilled end,
Uh-huh.
So I was really interested to see that and happy to see a meadery that's doing it commercially because that opens up a whole new world for us,
I don't have any opinion on that in public.
Well, no, I mean, this is White Winter Winery has a distilling license, so they make it legally, and I mean, we can concept all we want, but it was really
grounds that I may incriminate myself.
Right, yeah. I mean, I've had it from several places that make it legally, and it's and a few that don't, but yeah, but that was in my younger, foolisher days, but
allegedly,
yes. But but it was really fascinating to me to see what they're doing with it on a commercial level, because that's not something you're seeing much of. There's, I think, 2, maybe 3 meaderies that are now distilling commercially. And, so that opens up a whole nother world right there.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the next big thing.
Yeah. Well, they're already doing cross-pollination with distilleries as well, because you don't have to have a distilling license to do a collab distilled mead with a distillery. They have to start with something. Yeah, so you can do a cross-pollination there, so to speak, no pun intended. But, I mean, it's just, I think it would be interesting to explore the possibilities there and what sort of a mead does it take to make a really good distilled mead. I don't know. I don't have
right. Then you get into barrel aging.
Yeah. Well, see, that's what White Winter has got some that are not, and some that he's got one that is barrel aged, and the differences are really stunning.
That's so much fun.
Yeah, you totally have to get over there, Steve. Just go over there and tell John. Vicky said you had to come over there.
I should. I've never been up there. That's so
Really?
close.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, John and Kim are really awesome people, and I mean, we went there. We stayed at the casino, about 10, 15 miles from their place, and we parked the RV at the casino, invited them up for dinner, and then I went down there and spent a day bottling with them, and it was all kinds of fun. And